I think we've got a long way to go before we can actually meet the current demand levels.
The Coalition's answer to the government's housing tax reform is a proposal to match new homes with new migrants. Opposition leader Angus Taylor has outlined this plan in tonight's budget reply. Stuart Ayres is the CEO of the Urban Development Institute of Australia and he joins me now. Stuart Ayres, welcome. Now, Angus Taylor says Australia should only bring in as many people as it can house. He says this is a common sense housing plan. In your view, is it?
I think it's important to recognise that across Australia, right at this particular point in time, we've got a chronic undersupply of houses. We simply do not have enough homes, whether they be a house or an apartment. So it does make sense to be able to have a migration rate that keeps pace with the ability for us to deliver and develop the homes that we need.
From what we can deduct, there are 175,000 homes built last year. Net migration was around 306,000. This proposal would see migration cut almost in half. What does that do to economic growth and the ability to build new homes?
Yeah, so I think migration from any form of economic growth perspective should be about ensuring that the population rate in Australia continues to grow. So anything above 1% is probably around a fairly standard number. Once you start going above 1%, you've really got to make sure you've got the capacity in the economy to bring on those additional people. So making sure that we fast track people who come from overseas with qualifications into the Australian trade framework so they can get onto building sites and build more homes. The main challenge we have in Australia is we just simply don't have enough homes to house Australians that exist in Australia today. Anything that puts more demand pressure into that system is going to create more strain on housing.
So for context here, how do developers get projects off the ground? Is it predicated on population growth?
So right now there's lots of demand for housing. The challenge is the cost to build versus the capacity for people to pay for the particular home that they're buying. And in the industry, this is often referred to as the feasibility of a project. If you took a location in metropolitan Melbourne, metropolitan Sydney, and you looked at what the standard apartment price was in those locations, for many people in the development industry at the moment, the cost to build an apartment in that location is going to be $200,000-$300,000 more than what people can pay for now. So obviously that project's not as feasible as what we'd like. Feasibility exists a little bit more in the detached houses. So some of our suburban locations, it's a little bit easier to deliver those.
If these targets are predicated on how many houses were built in the previous year, would then developers start to build less houses because there were less people coming into the country and we could see a downward spiral in terms of the amount of houses built?
I think we've got a long way to go before we can actually meet the current demand levels. We're in a chronic undersupply environment at the moment, given our current run rate of housing delivery being well behind the National Housing Accord. There's a fair bit of capacity for us to slow that number down. This is going to be more of a reprioritisation, allowing owner-occupiers to come into the market and putting renters a bit under pressure. And the only way we can change that is to have more supply of homes.
Stuart Ayres, thank you so much.
Thanks very much for having me.